said, why does the Justice Department not demand the extradition of Cardinal Law? Well, it's possible. Flip the jurisdiction rather than answer questions on road after it be revealed that he sheltered and protected appalling pederasts.
Okay, that was a lucid, cogent argument that is germane to the topic at hand. Extradition, the bias of the Pope being both head of church and head of state, all great arguments. But once again, the problem is that none of this is really equaling out to a crime against humanity. And my problem with Hitchens as well as Dawkins is that I think they know that this isn't a crime against humanity and that once again, all they're doing is just a publicity stunt. This isn't about law or head of state or the raping of young children or anything of the sort. This is about the men wanting to delegitimize specifically priests. My biggest problem with that isn't necessarily their motives, it's the fact that they're pretending that this is about justice when it's really just about politics. This shouldn't be what the issue is about. Once again, this isn't the time to try and score your own political points. This is the time to try and bring these people to justice in a way that is actually going to have some chance of doing that. But once again, Hitchens is at least aware that this is an issue of the Pope being head of state, and not about him being the head of a large religious organization, or does he?
People say, listen, this is just a headline for us to chit-chat about, but the reality of being able to charge the Pope of all people with crimes against humanity will never happen.
Well, let's see what if he feels like coming to England and testing the proposition. That's the next trip we know he's going to make.
Do you think that there was a type of avoidance?
Then all right, then okay, it's fine. Then consider the alternative. The alternative is we publicly declare, we do call yourself a priest, or a high priest, as the Pope is. Then you don't have to answer any questions about the rape and torture of children. That would be a grotesque situation. I mean, wouldn't it?
Well, let me ask you.
But it is now the situation.
What? Did you just forget what you said 2 minutes ago in this very same interview? He's harboring these jerk-offs in his capacity as head of state, not in his capacity as head of high priest. If this was just a priest harboring rapists, they would all be arrested without hesitation. And Christopher, you know that. And that's what I don't like about this issue. These people know damn well, or at least those who know anything at all, that this isn't about justice. It's about making a political point. And that's why statements like this bother the shit out of me.
Well, this is some of the evidence you and other
considerations for these hardened, calcified sailors, and never a single mention of the rights of the children. And only concern shown for the reputation of Holy Mother Church. Well, they've lost that now, haven't they? But I think that means also we have to face judgment. Justice is coming.
Look, if you want to say that you're trying to take the Pope down, fine. If you want to try and say that you're doing this to score a point for reason and rational persons everywhere, fine. But don't say that you're doing this to bring anyone to justice or to stand up for the kids. That's not what this is about for you, and you've made that very clear. I'm not saying that Christopher Hitchens or Richard Dawkins don't care about those kids, but to pretend that this publicity stunt is for the kids is just plain fake. This has nothing to do with that. They don't even really seem to be totally clear as to what they're bringing him to justice for, and they seem to want to bring him in not as the head of state, but as a high priest or something. If you were really concerned with justice, you would be doing something useful, like trying to change international law to say that religious leaders cannot also be heads of state. It wouldn't fly, but it would at least be useful to try. But you certainly wouldn't be charging this man with a crime that you know they are guilty of just to get it into the press. This whole trying to arrest the Pope thing isn't about justice. It's just a publicity stunt. It is 100% political. And in Christopher Hitchens' own words, I don't mind it being political, but you shouldn't say it's not. That's all.
This episode of Fast Police starts right now. This episode of Penpoint is brought to you by Midtrades.
Okay, so my book, I guess by the time this comes out, my book on Simon & Schuster will be out. It's called God, No, Signs May Already Be an Atheist, and Other Magical Tales. That's the whole title of the book. And I'm really proud of it. It's a good book. I think there's good stories in it. And I hope some good ideas. But I'm going around now all the time. Like when we're dark from the Pentecost Theater here in Vegas, like Thursday and Friday, I'm doing like, Pierce Morgan, and I'm doing Adam Carolla. I'll be doing Opie Anthony. I'll be doing Red Eye. Doing the LMD, Lawrence McDonald's show. Doing all those MSNBC stuff and Fox and everything. And, just hawking my book. So the first one of these I did is a thing called The Talk, which is a show on CBS that's, I guess, in the same vein as The View. I don't know which one came first, but, it's a, definite article in it now. And it's five women, I think, who sit around and talk about current events, the women you can identify with. And one of the women, I don't know them all, I'm not really part of that kind of pop culture, but one of the women on the show is Sharon Osbourne. It was wonderful. I think I've met her a couple times, and I love the whole Osbourne family. I love Ozzy. I've met him, I think, once for just a handshake, but I've certainly seen him perform a lot, and I just love the kind of rock and roll he does, the way he kind of presides over it. And the children are great. I did the Miss America thing with the daughter, and I didn't get to meet her, but I get to see her on work in it, and I enjoyed that very much. I dig her. And so I'm going over to Sharon Osbourne, and they didn't want to. They say backstage, well, your book is about atheism, but this is midday TV. And you won't probably think about atheism, so kind of stay away from the book, which is cool, although I do think that America can handle in the marketplace of ideas about atheism in the afternoon. I don't think that's time specific. But whatever, it's their show, it's not my show. I do what they say. So I go out there, and instead of talking about atheism, I first of all call Sharon Osbourne out on something, and then I talk entirely about dropping my cock in a blow dryer, which I also talk about on Adam Carolla in detail, because that's the part of my book that is least offensive. The least offensive part of my book is dropping my cock in a blow dryer. And I'm talking about, the hardiest cross-hatching that I did in the tip of my dick and stuff. All on that. But the thing that I came out, and they asked me to comment on what had happened on the show before. And Sharon Osbourne had done this thing in the first part where she talked about this story about going with Ozzy to Disneyland and going on Space Mountain or something in her flume ride or something and hitting him and breaking his rib. She tells this story. And then a little later on, they're talking the events of the day, and this is, of course, a week or two ago for you guys, but there was that case of the woman who went to Dollywood and wore a t-shirt that said marriage is so gay, I think. And the Dollywood people actually turned inside out. And Dolly is one of the nicest people I've ever met, and funny and terrific, and also very, very pro-gay. But they made her turn her t-shirt inside out, which I think is really sexy. But I guess maybe they could go someplace else to do that. And Sharon Osbourne had said that you shouldn't take anything, there should be nothing offensive at the amusement park. There should be nothing offensive, nothing controversial, nothing to think about, which is a fine point of view. But I went out and pointed out to her that she said in the same home, in the same TV show, that you shouldn't bring anything offensive to an amusement park, and that she herself had brought Osbourne to an amusement park. She said in the exact same segment that people shouldn't have controversial things at amusement parks. Now, in the exact same segment that you said you brought Ozzy to an amusement park. And I asked her, did they ask you to turn your husband inside out? Did they ask you to turn Ozzy Osbourne inside out? Because he has a lot of tattoos. And I'm sure there's a lot of people who find Ozzy Osbourne controversial. I mean, that is part of the idea of Ozzy Osbourne since way back in Black Sabbath, right? I mean, is it offensive part of what Ozzy Osbourne does? So should you turn your husband inside out? That was a joke I entered before going into the whole dropping my cock in a blow dryer.